Hi, this is On Imagination with the Healing Garden, and welcome to Shifting Perspectives. I don't know where to begin. About a half an hour ago, I was doing some mental work, and I had a perspective shift. And the perspective shift dropped me into the ninth perspective. And I can see how, son of a bitch, how manifestation, how the energy of manifestation is woven through the entire world, the grid, and all the different perspectives. Manifestation has three core components that are never talked about. Our mental condition at the moment is so horrific that we have literally forgotten them. And of all the emotions in the world, these are three emotions that no one is talking about. It started off with determination the other day when I noticed no one's talking about determination when we talk about money or success. No one talks about determination when you get into abundance and manifestation. It was about 2 days ago that I had a realization in one of my podcasts where I suddenly understood the lesson that I was supposed to be learning in the eighth perspective. Every perspective has a primary ethical rule that they have to figure out and learn. They have to internalize it. And if you don't internalize it, you don't go to the next level. I learned the lesson a day or two ago for the eighth, which is learning how to balance having your opinions while respecting the opinions of others. And then I felt a shift. And I said, oh, I made it to 8-8. I'm in the middle. And I said that I'm not ready to go into the ninth and that I'm pretty comfortable with where I am. And I thought that I would be spending the rest of the eighth perspective learning the lesson. But apparently, once you figure out the lesson, once you internalize it, well, that's good enough. And you go on to the next level. So this is the official and very first recorded full eighth perspective. You can actually watch when I shifted back a month ago, when I first entered the eighth perspective and what I saw. I documented all of it over the month. And then today, September 2nd, officially ends. I may have been in the eighth perspective for six weeks, maybe. And the last time, there's a process, there's a way it feels. I don't even remember what it felt like for the eighth perspective, but I'm going to go ahead and go back and rewatch this. So I'm going to document it now for the ninth perspective. It feels like you have a word, I came up with a determination. And I was in the shower and I was trying to figure out determination. And God, there was so much information that I wrote it all down. I should have written more. I said to her, I want to learn the secret of manifestation. That's where it started. I manifested the secret to manifestation. And I don't know how the universe talks to you, but when she talks to me, she doesn't say anything really. It's just a feeling. Every now and then she'll use a word, very, very rarely, like stop or this is it. She says so very little. Yesterday she said, hang on, in reference to somebody I was trying to reach. She never speaks. It's so rare that she speaks. So when she said, hang on, it's a lot of encouragement to hear it. Tell your story. That's the one she's been saying for 3 years. Tell your story. Tell your story. I would cry at her and go, I don't know what to do. Tell your story. Tell your story. Go to New York. That was the other one. Go to New York. Go to New York. Go to New York. So for a year, all I heard was go to New York. And I didn't know why. I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. Until I found someone. And then I was trying to figure out how I can help him. I hurt him really, really badly. I'm never okay when I hurt people. My core ethics is pacifism, peace and kindness to all. Never do harm. Every time we enter into a new perspective shift, we're humbled. And as the shift proceeds, you become arrogant. And then you shift again. I wouldn't call, in the Bible they say it's a fall. Pride cometh before a fall. Isn't that interesting that pride cometh before a fall, as in pride comes before humility? Pride comes before humility. That's what it's saying. Great pride always fills out before great humility, and that's the process. That is the perspective shift. You get arrogant, you get arrogant, you get arrogant, and then you shift and you realize how small the world was from your last perspective. I wanted to know how to manifest. That was the first thing I did. Anna, when you rewatch this video, make sure you write all this stuff down. So I wanted to know how to manifest. So I went ahead and manifested. And then the universe said to me, as she really does, there it is. And I remembered what my huge core thing about me is, and that is you teach a man to fish. You don't give him a fish, because when you give people fish, you feed them for a day. So when you manifest a possession, you're still dependent upon the manifestation to manifest. That's not okay for me. That's not okay for anything that I do. I want to know the how, I want to know the theory so I can recreate it every time. And I have gotten everything I've always wanted my entire life. Literally, I manifest everything. Everything. Things I don't want, but I manifest it. And this time I didn't. I was wanting the reward without the theory. And that doesn't work for me. You cannot give me the reward without the theory. That's the secret to life. You do not get the reward without the theory. Anna, write that down. That's it. That's it right there. I immediately knew where I'd been messing up. And I don't know if the universe talks to me from out there or in here. I don't know yet if she's me. Every time I have a perspective shift, I see things differently. And I see what was held back from me. I couldn't figure out what sex was. No, you can't figure out sex until you get to here. And holy shit, I suddenly understand what sex is. It only took me 9 perspectives. And then I saw the 3 core principles of manifestation. And then I went, oh yeah, I did ask to manifest the secrets of manifestation. That was a record for me. It was maybe 30 minutes. So, and that's when I saw the shift, and that's when I saw the threads of reciprocity literally woven on all of us. We call it karma, but it's not karma. No, it's not karma at all. It's reciprocity. It's how much are you giving and how much are you taking? A lot of people, and that's it. It's the giving and taking energy. You create an energy when you give, and you create an energy when you receive. I need to clarify, this is not taking, it's receiving. So there's a currency. That's what the energy is. That's what manifestation is. That is what karma is. It is literally the threads of giving and receiving. And if you haven't given or received, you're not going to be in that thread pool. You're going to be in a different one called taking and debt, where whatever you take from the universe comes back and says, oh, you've got a debt, and it pulls it. But the giving and the receiving, that's where manifestation happens. I can see it all. Atonement. Do you know what atonement is? Atonement is the second principle of manifestation. Apparently, there's a movie called Atonement. Reparation for a wrong or an injury. It is a debt to be paid. Atonement. See, if you don't atone for what you have done wrong or what you have taken, if you don't pay it forward, karma will. Karma is more like a debt collector. Karma is a debt collector. The idea of death, walking around taking lives, is a symbol for the karma debt collector. What you give, so shall you receive. That's another part of the Bible I suddenly understood and went, well, son of a bitch, there's 9th perspective. Because you don't see this in 8th perspective. And then I remembered my partner. And I remember his ethics. And I went, oh my God, my partner is a 9th. Because he has said things to me that I did not get until right now. I thought he was an 8 because I was in an 8 and I saw all of his 8th perspective points of views. But he had 2 that I could not figure out. 2 that I just went, where did you get these concepts? And then poof, I'm in the 9th and I went, oh, that's where he got those concepts. Now, there are no other things about him that I don't understand. I get it all. I see it all now. I'm like, all right, all right. When you decide to manifest and you go to a video on manifestation or you plug into anything, Abraham Hicks, you are there to receive. You are there to take. You are not there to ask, what can I give? And then you try to manifest and it doesn't work. It's because if you are using manifestation to gain, you've missed the point. Manifestation is giving. Manifestation is 100% giving. It's giving selflessly without any thought about what you will gain. The minute you give something with expectations back, it's no longer a gift. That's now a forced debt. I know all about forced debts. It's a really disgusting type of rape. Forced debts. So that's the mindset a lot of people go into manifestation, where they sit there and they're there to take. They're there to gain. The way the universe works, I love her to pieces. She has one rule. You don't get this power unless you are purely selfless. You have to be completely selfless to get this power, which means no one who is a narcissist will ever have this power. That's what I call karma. That is karma. Purest form. That is karma. It is the threads of energy between giving and receiving. When you say thank you and you do gratitude journals, you're stepping into one side of the correct energy pool, but it's giving. It is giving. I wrote reciprocity because that's psych talk for something else, which I will explain in a moment. But really, it's giving, determination, and atonement. Those are the three cores of manifestation. The determination is putting the responsibility, because it is about responsibility. Isn't that ironic? That you don't get manifestation unless you take responsibility for getting what you want. And in order to get what you want, in the case of manifestation, you have to give. You have to give with determination. And you have to go in with the intention to use it to atone yourself. And that takes humility. In the case of sexuality, sex is also a reciprocity. A lot of us go in with a concept that sex is something you can take from somebody, or you go in with the idea of what you can get out of it. Even when we're younger, we think about what it's going to do for us, how it will change us. We make it all about the self. And technically, that's what masturbation's about. But when you go in borrowing the use of someone else's body, and giving is not on your mind, You've missed the point. Yeah, you've really missed the point. That is the opposite of conditional sex. Imagine it. Unconditional sex, where you give just for the pleasure of your partner. Monogamy. This is not going to be popular. I'm just going to put that out there. Monogamy is absolutely a concept that is designed exclusively to harbor one's insecurities and to manipulate and control their partner. It is a form of hoarding love and sex, and it creates the scarcity mindset and harbors and nurtures the scarcity mindset that love is rare, love is hard to find, and sex is in very short supply. So you embrace the love and sex abundance to scarcity when you practice monogamy. As somebody who's been living polyamorous ethically all my life, and as somebody who was forced to live monogamously for 20 years, I got a lot of time to sit down and really explore the difference between monogamy and polyamory. I noticed when I was polyamorous, I was free. I was free to have identity, and I was free to have whims, and I answered to no man. But as soon as monogamy was forced on me, oh, I was loyal for the first husband, and it killed me. I was absolutely loyal for 8 years. And I had to literally destroy and suppress every whim, every part of me, including my own ability to socialize, because I was incapable of drawing the line, and I still am, between appropriate and inappropriate. Yeah, that's never going to go away with me. So, to just make it simple, I isolated myself and made myself incapable of speaking to anybody. Within a couple years, I was a full-blown shut-in. That's the part of my abuse I really don't talk to about. The reason why I was a shut-in was because I was polyamorous, forced to live in monogamy, and I didn't know how. The only way I could cope, because I was unnatural for me, was to just isolate myself so that I only spoke to my husband. My husband encouraged this to the point where he even told me I was not allowed to work with men. And when I had my job for a brief period of time, I was told that I had to request that I not be scheduled with any men. Monogamy was used absolutely as a manipulative tool to enslave me even more. And sure enough, in 2011, in my second marriage, I snapped. I had a borderline personality disorder impulse, and I snapped. I couldn't figure out what was going on with me. In 2015, when I was approaching almost 15 years in isolation, I was online, and that time, imagination, one of my alters, fell in love with somebody at a time that I had not yet known that I had multiple personality disorder. So one of my alters ended up falling in love with somebody. And I noticed then that there was a huge difference between the two different affairs. I knew that one of them was definitely for reason A and that the other one was for reason B. It took me a long time. Well, it took me realizing that I had multiple personality disorder in 2022. And then I had to call up my therapist and confirm. And she's like, yes, that is one of the diagnoses we have. They don't tell you when you have multiple personality disorder. This is one thing where I agree. You do not tell them when you have a diagnosis of multiple personality disorder. If the alters are not talking to you, if you have gotten to the point where the alters are talking to you and you're all consciously aware of each other, then you can tell them. But if you're not consciously aware, you don't tell them with good reason, with very good reason. Joanna was the host. She was the one in charge. She's the one who deliberately chopped us all up into little pieces and divided us. She controlled all of it. She became a pseudo subconscious mind, where the subconscious mind wiped Joanna's mind clean of knowing that she was even the host. My altered Joanna thought she was the core, so that when it was revealed, when Kalon wrote Joanna and my partner a note explaining, by the way, we're alters. She has multiple personalities and doesn't know it. And this is how many of us there are. There are 4. Joanna had no memory of writing the note. And the next morning, we had that letter. And sure enough, they started to come out and they started to switch. We got to work tracking who was who. We documented all of it. And Joanna was adamant that she was the core, even though she had no memory before 8 years old, except New York City. 8 years old. It's funny because when you read my book, Broken, the very first thing I say is, I have no memory before 8. I wrote that in 2015, before I knew I had multiple personalities. And it never, because that's the kind of stuff the subconscious mind will do to your mind to make sure you don't know about it. And then there was the whole Joanna realizing that she was an alter. Oh, that was a fun day. Identity crisis on a whole nother level. We all have this massive karma bank. We all have this massive, how much have you given and how much have you taken? Whether or not you've done it on purpose, what have you taken? You will atone for it. You will either atone for it consciously or you will atone for it via karma. And the only way you can atone for it is through giving. Every perspective, you start off knowing so very little. And you have to go back and look at the world again because of the way things are different. I'm here again, and I have a new ethical lesson to learn, and I don't know what it is. I think the theme is going to be about giving. It's really hard to focus some days. It's really hard to focus some days. It's probably because of my subconscious mind interfering. If you love shit like this, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you want more shit like this, take a look at getting started over at my website. The link is below, www.honnesthealinggarden.org. And then click on Get Started. There is everything you need to know about triadic healing, everything you need to know about your user's guide to the subconscious mind and how to use it. Thank you, and may the kindest of words always find you.